Congratulations. Your role here is terminated. That's what she said. CO Madison Clark, 42, with that cold, rehearsed smile that screamed corporate betrayal. I didn't flinch. I nodded, handed over my laptop, and replied, "Good luck with tomorrow's demo. Hope it blows their minds." Then I walked out, security flanking me like I was some criminal. But inside I was calm, no panic, no rage, because I knew something she didn't. My name is Derek Vaughn. I'm 38, and for the last 17 months, I have poured my soul into developing a predictive defense algorithm, SentraLock, a system capable of identifying digital threats before they even emerge. I built it in the heart of Cerebrum Forge, a rising tech firm in Chicago that promised innovation but delivered exploitation. Madison waited until the system was nearly finished, then cut me loose. What she didn't realize was this: the final version? It only ran properly if I authenticated it. And that code? The one buried deep in the demo build. It was set to activate in 5 minutes. The fallout? Unstoppable. Before all this, I had a stable 6-figure job at a cybersecurity firm in Denver. Comfortable, predictable, safe. But I gave it up. Why? Because I believed in something bigger. I had an idea: SentraLock, a system that could revolutionize how we anticipate digital threats. Not react, not contain, predict. That vision consumed me. And when Cerebrum Forge, a flashy startup run by the ever-charismatic Madison Clark, pitched itself as the future of ethical tech, I bought the lie. I was 38, restless, and ready to risk it all. I walked in with my notebooks, code sketches, and an obsession I'd carried for years. Madison called me the cornerstone of innovation, said I'd be given autonomy, resources, and equity. That was the bait. For the next 17 months, I practically lived inside that glass-walled office, 80-hour weeks. No weekends. No holidays. I missed birthdays. I missed funerals. I missed myself. But I was building something that had never existed before. Every breakthrough felt personal, until I realized none was mine anymore. Madison played the long game. She waited until the prototype passed its final benchmark, then spun up the legal team. I saw the emails. I heard the whispers. Let's cut him out. Just like that. And while she thought I was too naive to notice, what she didn't know was that I had been preparing for betrayal longer than she had been planning it. It happened on a Thursday afternoon. I had just submitted the final integration report for SentraLock, and the AI flawlessly passed its first live stress test. It identified a simulated 0-day attack before it even unfolded. I was ecstatic. For the first time in months, I allowed myself to breathe. I emailed Madison Clark, the CEO of Cerebrum Forge, asking to schedule a demo. She responded with an miniature assistant, carved out a 20-minute window the next day. It felt formal, but I didn't think twice. That was my mistake. I walked into her office the next day with everything: slides, code logs, threat maps, and predictive reports. But instead of just Madison, I saw their general counsel, Ellis Tran, already seated at the table. No smiles, no greetings, just a stiff gesture toward the empty chair across from them. "Derek," Madison began, voice neutral, "before we talk about your system, there's something we need to review." Ellis slid a document toward Methic, stamped, and surgical in tone. He spoke without emotion. "Per Section 12.5 of your contract, any system developed using company resources, regardless of ideation timeline, is considered the proprietary intellectual property of Cerebrum Forge." My stomach twisted. I had heard rumors, but I still hoped this wouldn't happen. SentraLock was conceptualized and partially coded 2 years before I joined this company. I said calmly but firmly, "I've got documentation, source commits, email threads, everything." Madison didn't blink. "You brought your vision here. You used our tools, our servers, and our engineers, and now it belongs to the Forge." Then she smiled, that corporate smile I had come to despise. You'll be generously compensated. A success bonus of $250,000 upon launch. That's well above market. I stared at her. 17 months. My sleepless nights. My algorithms. My voice is in every decision. You're serious? I asked. Quieter than I intended. She leaned back. Effective immediately. Your role is concluded. HR will process your payout. Security will walk you out. It wasn't just theft. It was a surgical erasure. They didn't just want the code. They wanted me to disappear. But what they didn't know was this. I saw it coming. 6 months ago, I noticed unauthorized access attempts on my private dev logs. From then on, I started rewriting more than code. I was rewriting the outcome. Quietly. Systematically. And they had just triggered the trap. As security escorted me down the polished hallway, their footsteps echoing behind mine, I kept my face blank, calm, and professional. But inside, I was counting. Not my losses. Not the days wasted. I was counting the seconds until the trap activated. 5 minutes. That's how long they had. They thought I'd go quietly. I'd pack my things, take the bonus money, and disappear into some forgotten LinkedIn footnote. But what Madison didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I had been preparing for this moment for months. It started 6 months earlier when I got an alert. An unauthorized login attempt into my secure dev environment. At 2:13 a.m. I checked the logs. The IP was traced back to a masked internal node. Someone inside the company had tried to access my prototype branch after hours. I didn't report it. I didn't confront anyone. Instead, I began reinforcing the very system I was building, but not just against external threats. I started coding for internal betrayal. I wrote adaptive triggers, tamper, sensitive permissions. A fail-safe authentication layer is buried 3 stacks deep in the demo build. And one specific sequence. If I were removed from the system without a verified offboarding protocol, the entire demo would collapse. Not dramatically, not with alarms subtly. It would flood the test with false positives. It would flag harmless traffic as critical. It would trigger ethical breach notifications with time-stamped internal access violations. It would do precisely what SentraLock was designed to do: identify the real threat. I handed over my laptop without a word. The handshake was cold and procedural. But my final line? Good luck with the demo tomorrow. Hope it impresses the investors. That wasn't sarcasm. That was a forecast. The countdown had already started when I stepped into the elevator. And within minutes, everything they had stolen would begin turning on itself, one line of logic at a time. I was halfway through a beer and a rerun of an old sitcom when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I let it ring twice before answering. A sharp voice on the other end. Derek? Madison needs to see you. Now. She says it's urgent. I checked the time, 9:47 p.m. She had fired me barely 12 hours ago. Now, I was suddenly necessary again. I didn't respond. I slipped on my jacket, walked downstairs, and found the Blacktown car idling at the curb. They weren't asking. They were panicking. When I arrived back at Cerebrum Forge's headquarters, the building was nearly dark, except for one floor. The lights on the executive level were blazing. Madison was waiting in the boardroom. Alone. Shoulders tense. Hair disheveled. Jacket off. Not the sleek, calculating CEO I'd known. This version of her was unraveling. The second the door shut behind me, she snapped. What did you do? I didn't move. I just tilted my head slowly. What do you mean? The demo, she hissed. It's broken. The system flagged every internal process as a threat. It generated 1,400 false positives in under 10 minutes. It sent breach reports to the entire investor preview list. It crashed the mainframe. I raised an eyebrow. Sounds like a technical issue. Maybe your engineers missed something. Her voice cracked. Derek, don't play games. You sabotaged it. I didn't sabotage anything, I said calmly, stepping closer. SentraLock is functioning exactly as designed. It detects threats, internal, or external. The system doesn't care where the danger comes from. It just identifies the source. Madison's face drained of color. She slumped into the nearest chair, eyes wild. You programmed it to turn against us. No, I replied. I programmed it to protect itself. When you removed me from the authentication chain, it flagged that as an unauthorized modification. The AI did the rest. She stared at me like I spoke another language. So I broke it down. You didn't just steal code. You triggered a defense mechanism. SentraLock is sensitive to threats, including corporate ones. It read the board's backdoor access as a hostile event. And now, it's logging everything. Madison gripped the edge of the table. Investors are flying in tomorrow. We're presenting in less than 12 hours. What do you want? I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I reached into my coat pocket and placed a small flash drive on the table. This contains the fix, not a patch. A reset protocol with proper authentication. She looked at it like it might explode. And what do I owe you for it? I met her eyes. Full recognition as co-creator. 50% of all IP rights. A board seat. And $10 million in compensation. Or, you can face the investors empty-handed and watch this company burn from the inside. The room fell silent. For the first time, Madison Clark knew what it felt like to be outmaneuvered. I could see the calculations running behind Madison's bloodshot eyes. She didn't want to concede, but she couldn't risk walking into a multi-million-dollar investor demo with a system that had declared war on its network. The silence stretched. Then her voice, stripped of its corporate polish. You'll get your name on it. And a payout. But 10 million? A board seat? That's excessive. I leaned forward, keeping my tone steady. No, Madison. That's the cost of betrayal. I wasn't negotiating from anger. I was negotiating the proof. SentraLock had done more than crash. A Demoit had exposed the company's internal fractures in full 4K detail. Unauthorized logins. Tampered access logs. Deleted audit trails. All time-stamped. All backed up. All real. If I wanted to, I could walk out that door and send those files to every investor on the schedule and half the cybersecurity media circuit. But I didn't want revenge. I wanted recognition. I wanted what I had earned. I built the system. The core logic, the AI framework, and the self-healing protocols all came to my mind. You offered resources, not vision. You don't get to erase me and rebrand it as yours. Her hands trembled slightly as she reached for the flash drive I had left on the table. If I agree, she said, barely above a whisper, can you make it work in time? I nodded. With the right credentials reinstated, the system will reset. No more false positives. No breach alerts. There are no ethical red flags. It was just a clean, elegant performance. Exactly what the investors came to see. She hesitated. Then slowly she nodded. At that moment, the power shift was complete. I had entered that room as a disposable engineer. I was leaving it as co-founder, co-owner, and controller of the system they tried to steal. The mood had shifted entirely when I walked back into Cerebrum Forge the next morning. No more security guards, no more cold stares, just polished shoes, nervous assistants, and a boardroom full of investors waiting to be impressed. Madison met me in the hallway, dressed sharply again, face composed, but her eyes still carried the remnants of the night before. Fear wrapped in forced confidence. She extended a hand. This is Derek Vaughn, she announced, loud enough for the front row to hear. Co-founder and chief technology officer behind our flagship product, SentraLock. Just yesterday, she tried to erase me. Now, she was using my name like it carried weight, and it did. Not because of ego, but because the system wouldn't function without me. Literally. My authentication credentials had just been restored, and the demo wouldn't run until I logged in. I plugged in the flash drive, unlocked the system, and ran the build. In under a minute, SentraLock neutralized every simulated cyber threat the panel threw. It adapted in real time, evolved as expected, and maintained ethical oversight across every behavior chain. When the final simulation ended, the boardroom broke into quiet applause. One investor leaned toward Madison and whispered, "Where did you find him?" I didn't need her to answer. The results spoke for themselves. By the end of the day, we had locked in $80 million in new funding. The demo had made headlines in 3 industry publications before lunch. And just like that, the company that tried to discard me was now being held together by the system it tried to steal and the man they underestimated. But this wasn't about revenge. I didn't need anyone to suffer. I needed the truth to hold. So I stayed not as a subordinate or a pawn but as a co-founder with contractual equity, board oversight, and full ownership of all future development protocols. They could have had the system, but they lost the soul that built it. And that's what almost cost them everything. I worked side by side with the team I trusted, building not just tech, but guardrails, to ensure no one could ever be erased the way they tried to erase me. Every deployment of SentraLock would now come with an ethical contract, transparency logs, user accountability, and built-in protection against exploitation, internal and external. Madison and I maintained a professional distance. We didn't pretend, but she understood the new order. And the board? They never questioned it again. In the end, I didn't just reclaim my idea. I rewrote the rules around it, so no one else would ever have to fight this hard just to be seen. 3 months after that pivotal demo, SentraLock went live in its first commercial deployment, securing a multinational banking infrastructure that had previously suffered 2 near-catastrophic breaches. The outcome? Not a single intrusion. Not a single missed anomaly. The AI did precisely what it was built to do: learn, evolve, and protect. The incident that could have cost over $300 million in damages became our most compelling proof of concept. Suddenly, Derek Vonans, the disposable engineer, was now the face of adaptive, ethical cybersecurity. My inbox was flooded with speaking invites, media requests, and collaboration offers. But I wasn't chasing the spotlight. I had a different mission now. Because what happened inside Cerebrum Forge wasn't just a cautionary tale about corporate theft. It was a mirror held up to the industry. And what it revealed was brutal. Innovation means nothing if it can be stolen by those with bigger titles and better lawyers. So, I took what I learned and began reshaping how we develop and deploy intelligent systems for efficiency and accountability. Every future rollout of SentraLock now includes internal ethics protocols, transparent data access logs, and hard-coded safeguards designed to protect the system and the people who build it. AI no longer safeguards networks, it protects its creators' integrity and the values we embed into it. And that's by design. I also started mentoring younger developers, people who reminded me of myself when I first walked into that glass-walled office full of ideas and blind trust. I taught them what no one taught me: how to build brilliant things without giving away your power. Madison? She remained CEO, though quieter now. She focused on investor relations while I handled the technical vision. We didn't exchange small talk, but we understood the line that had been drawn and neither of us crossed it again. In the end, I didn't burn the company down. I rebuilt its foundation with truth, strategy, and the one thing they never expected from someone like me: resolve. Because if there's one thing this entire battle taught me, it's this: your ideas don't just need to be good. They need to be protected. And your voice? It matters more than the corner office, the equity package, and the applause. Your voice is the blueprint. And now, finally, mine gets to speak without being silenced. Looking back, I used to think the most challenging part was being pushed out, being dismissed by people I trusted. But the truth is, the real wound wasn't the termination. It was realizing how long I stayed loyal to people who had quietly stopped being faithful to me. My name is Derek Vaughn. I'm 38, and learned the hard way that ideas don't protect themselves. People do. And if you're not ready to defend what you've built intellectually, legally, emotionally, someone else will claim it without flinching. You see, This story wasn't just about a stolen startup idea. It was about power and where it truly comes from. Not from titles, not from corner offices, not even from funding, but from conviction, from knowing your worth so deeply that no betrayal can permanently define you. If you're watching this, and you've ever been undervalued, overlooked, or strategically cut out of something you helped build, I see you, and I want you to take this in. You don't have to scream to be heard. You have to be smart enough to make your silence strategic. I didn't yell. I didn't sue. I didn't self-destruct. I prepared. Quietly. Carefully. I left a trail they didn't see coming, and I waited. When the moment arrived, I reclaimed my place, not by begging, but by being irreplaceable. And that's what I want for you. If you're building something, an idea, a brand, a business, even just your name, protect it like it's sacred. Set boundaries early. Document everything. Own your part. Because one day, someone may try to rewrite your story, and you'll need to decide whether to disappear or to take the pen back. So let me ask you this. What would you have done in my place? Would you have walked away quietly, fought back with fire, or found a third option built on strategy, not revenge? Drop your answer in the comments. I want to hear your stories, your battles, your blueprints for protecting what's yours. Because if there's one thing I know for sure, you are your first line of defense. And sometimes, the best revenge is never letting them take what was never theirs.